What's up, chatters? It's your girl, Kathy Chit Chat. I'm still under the weather, but you know when I have to chat about something, I just have to get it out. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure to subscribe. This one is really, really bothersome to me, and it's so many different variables as into why it's bothersome. I lost count. If you haven't followed the story or familiar, mother and 14-year-old son were arrested and charged with murder. They were recently released due to a situation that took place at a location in which the mother was ordering food. During that time, she got into a verbal spat with a gentleman who can be seen punching the woman repeatedly on camera. You can also see people fleeing the scene and an older black male also getting out of the way of the situation. I'm saddened, one, to read comments just with people, giving their 2 cents and input on the story. I'm saddened to see the amount of men that actually stated, women shouldn't speak to men in a certain way, and we're almost kind of glorifying his behavior. And I was also saddened by the people that were very, very mean, for lack of better words, to the older gentleman that was seen getting out of the way. And I said that if you don't have anyone older, or older dad or older uncle or things of that nature, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm not showing the video because it's just too triggering and too graphic, but I think the gentleman might have had a cane. I'm not 100% certain on that. You guys can watch it for yourself, but he's clearly older. And when it comes to our elders, we have to respect them, and you don't know what he has going on. And like, for example, I have an older uncle that has leg issues. He cannot go toe-to-toe with the 20-30-year-old man. And in Chicago's climate, you never know what can come after a man striking a woman. They wanted to get out for safety, and I don't see why that man is being shamed. He was older. I don't see that he could have gone toe-to-toe with that young man, and also not knowing what could have came after they ran. And if you haven't noticed, Chicago is a war zone. I'm not even going to begin to talk about the murders that's taking place there, because it's insane. So with the story itself, I'm just very, very upset that the people were being so judgmental about the people who ran, not knowing what triggers and traumas and PTSD. Who knows how many people they lost. Again, Chicago is a war zone. People are murdered there. I don't even want to look up the stats because it's just that heartbreaking. But me, knowing what I know of violent situations and going to Chicago, I would have ran too. That man could have been armed. It's just, I don't understand how they were so judgmental. Now, one thing that is being alleged, the female acquaintance of the victim now, because he's deceased, it's alleged that in the audio and prior to, the female acquaintance is urging him to hit the bitch. And I'm not calling this woman a bitch, but that's being alleged that, from witnesses and statements and audio, that the female acquaintance that was with him was alleging for him to do something to this woman. And it shows so many issues within our community, with the lack of respect for human life, the lack of respect for women, the lack of respect for one another, and it's just sickening. And to that woman, if that is in fact true, shame on you. Shame on you. And if you have any experience with this gentleman, if you know his temperament, really shame on you, because you knew that he was capable of doing that. And for his family and friends, is this a situation in where you knew this party had a temper, where you knew that this person would hit a woman? Or does he have mother issues? What help did he seek? What help was offered to him? And a lot of people are so, again, judgmental when it comes to the mental health card. But the way that that man hit that woman, my opinion, no one who's sane would do that. And any head hit can cause brain damage, hemorrhaging, concussions. He could have legitimately killed her by the force behind those strikes. And again, if you've seen the video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He hit that woman with force. And where do we begin to understand the mindset of someone that has to react with violence simply because of someone's words to him? And from the audio, there was nothing that she said, in my opinion, that was that threatening and that alarming for her to be struck by not alone anyone, but certainly not by a man. And in this climate, we're so judgmental again with people recording, but in this instance, it saved this woman's life and her son's life, because what they did was they arrested, charged, and asked questions later. And it was because of this video in which they decided to release these parties. Now, time and time again, we videograph injustices and things of that nature, and nothing is being done. Let's talk about the woman in Florida that was just murdered by her neighbor, in which charges weren't even immediately pressed. And even still now, they're having such a hard time charging this woman in a situation, and in my opinion, was certainly racially charged based on witness accounts and her hurling racial slurs at this woman, and an ongoing neighbor feud that cost this woman her life. But yet no charges and anything seems to be brought there, and that seems to be being used as the self-defense card. But in a situation like this, without video, this mother and son were charged. The gentleman, I don't even want to say gentleman, but the beast that on the New York City subway held a schizophrenic black male down and choked him until he met his demise. They're not even charging that, and that's on video. So I'm so sick of it, to be honest, and I'm really hopeful that if there is a legitimate GoFundMe, I think this is one of those situations where this mother and son deserve that. I no longer think they're safe in the area that we live in. We don't know the victim's family, and if they're even angry or not even going to hold him accountable for his actions and what caused his demise, and what if they want to seek retaliation? This was a 14-year-old honor student, and they're not printing that enough. They originally tried to state that he had gang affiliations. This is a 14-year-old honor student. This was not a young man that was in the street. His whole entire life is altered. Luckily, someone like Nicki Minaj offered to help with his college education, because he's going to need that. They're going to need a new location. He's going to need counseling, because guess what? Who wakes up in the morning, unless you're a psychopath, and decides that I want to take the life of someone, let alone a 14-year-old? He didn't want to do that, but he didn't want his mother to be killed or harmed. And he made a decision to protect the mother, the woman that brought life to him. He wanted to give her life. And that man deserves a chance. That young man deserves a bright future, and he needs to be protected at all costs. And the media will try to spin these narratives when it comes to our young black males who actually are productive and trying to be prominent in our society, and try to paint them in another light. But that's not the case here. That's not the case with this young man. And as long as I have a voice, I'm going to speak for situations like this. So here I am stating that this young man has a future and an honor student. Let's lift him up. Now, I will also go on the end and say, for the family, we don't want to see our family members hurt, and there's some instances where, right or wrong, family will rock with you. So I don't know what their current opinion or views are of the situation, because they now have to bury someone that they loved, and that's unfortunate. It truly is. But what's also unfortunate is that this took place in the first place. And when things like this arise, in my opinion, I don't think this is the first time he's done this. He was very comfortable striking that woman. He was very comfortable. He didn't hesitate, and he hit with force. And that's something that the family and friends need to look at. And if they have anyone else in their family that's behaving that way, you might want to tell them to think again, because guess what? Those actions now can be proven to be fatal. So for the abusive men that want to strike females, more and more women are becoming licensed to carry. More and more minority women are getting their concealed weapon permit. I got mine years ago, and I will never, ever, ever, ever be shamed for that. So just think, before you strike that woman, is it worth your life? Y'all stay chatting and lift that 14-year-old boy up.